Hi, my name is Vanessa. So how many of you guys have social media accounts? Well, as of January 2016, the worldwide snapshot shows that more than 3.4 billion people, almost 7.4 billion are internet users, more than 2.3 billion are active social media users, almost 3.8 billion are mobile users, and almost 2 billion are active mobile social media users, which shows that this is a huge amount of people that are active online. Which brings me to my proposition that social media can negatively affect people's lives. My first reason is social media negatively affects our social environment. People begin to rely on social media for social enhancement. According to psychologist COF and Griffiths, the findings of some studies indicate that people with large offline social networks who are more extroverted and who have higher self-esteem use Facebook for social enhancement, supporting the principle of the rich get richer. The size of people's online social networks correlates positively with life satisfaction and well-being, but does neither have an effect on the size of offline network nor an emotional closeness to people in real-life networks. People will begin to use online to and view themselves only desirable online rather than offline. Others began to rely on social media for social compensation. Cousin Griffin stated, however, people with only a few offline contacts compensate for their introversion, low self-esteem, and low life satisfaction by using Facebook for online popularity. People begin to feel more welcome or put more effort in a group setting, which in this case is the internet. Another type of social environment that's negatively affected can be a student's academic environment. According to Kennesaw University professors Paul Baker and Cochran, increased levels of attention deficit resulted in increased time spent on online social networking. As we also found that time spent on online social networking negatively impacts academic performance, there is indirect relationship between attention deficit and academic performance, implying that increased levels of attention deficit have a negative, although indirect, impact on academic performance. Basically stating that when we have a shortage of attention, we tend to go to online social networking to fill that. My second reason is social media negatively affects mental health. People who spend a huge amount of time online are more prone to have poor mental health. According to Notre Dame University professors Howie and Samaha, studies showed that technological addictions, including addictions on the internet and social networking sites, have positive associations with stress, anxiety and depression, and negative association with academic performance, which in all negatively affect our satisfaction with life. People's self-esteem is negatively affected by constant exposure to social media. Howie and Samaha also state, few studies developed and validated measurement instruments and confirm that social media addiction is real, as users exhibit most of the symptoms of behavioral addiction, including tolerance, withdrawal, conflict, salience, relapse, and mood modification. It also appears that people with lower self-esteem tend to depend on social media more. Students use social media with the intention of enhancing their self-image at risk of not only lowering their self-esteem, but also their satisfaction with life as well. Social media addicts begin to turn to negative or positive comments from online friends, and it can either boost or lower your self-esteem. People use social media to falsely show that they live a better life than others. In a Swedish study of 1,011 participants, the authors showed that people use Facebook to convey the best of their lives, interesting events, positive happenings, which makes others falsely believe they live a lesser life by social comparison, when in turn negatively affects their self-esteem and well-being. When people post online, they only show the best parts of their lives that are happy and exciting, making others believe that they have the better life. My third and final reason is social media eases the spread of false information. Social media can spread false news stories. There's been many cases, and in this one, according to NBC News reporter Maggie Fox, the study started with PhD research by MIT, Cyril Lusogi, who was struck by the false reports that spread rapidly after the 2013 Boston Marathon bombings, in which 3 people were killed and 264 injured. Twitter became the main source of news, Lusogi said in a statement. I realized that a good chunk of what I was reading on social media was rumors, he added. It took the truth about 6 times as long as falsehood to reach 1,500 people. They found the false news stories were 70% more likely to be retweeted than true stories were. These social media network sites help spread information, whether it's true or false, because people retweet or share misleading information in order to be seen as being in the know. And with these three reasons, social media negatively affecting our social environment, negatively affects our mental health, and eases the spread of false information, this concludes why social media negatively affects people's lives.
Okay, the proposition's clear at the beginning of the speech. There's no preview of the content, so we just have to get it as you go along. The first point is not distinctly signposted, but the second and the third points are much more distinctly signposted, so that helps a little bit. The idea of social enhancement is a little vague. The notion that people are gaining something from the use of social media, I'm not sure that that's a surprise. The notion that they're gaining something that's illegitimate or problematic or something that they haven't earned or deserve, I think that there needs to be some more information here about this to justify the conclusion that you're arriving at here. The argument that there are academic deficits that are created because of this, I think you have a good explanation about why that would be true. I'm not sure that there's much proof to show that it is in fact true. We don't have statistical information about grade trade-offs, for instance, based on the number of hours that people spend online. I think that there's probably that information in some of the studies that get cited, but it never goes to that level. We get the conclusion without maybe some of the statistical data that goes along with it. And I think if you had both, that would make that argument a little bit stronger. The mental health issue, it seems like it's largely dependent upon this idea of people raising or lowering their self-esteem. There's the social comparison argument that gets made here. Social comparison has always been something that human beings do. It's one of those innate sorts of things. We walk around and say, well, at least I'm not as fat as that guy, or at least I'm taller than this person. Every time I drive, you want a little social comparison that makes you feel bad? Drive through Beverly Hills or Bel Air, and you go, damn, what the hell's wrong with me? Why am I not living this lifestyle? And it's just the neighborhood that's going on. Now, the idea that it could be more overwhelming or that it has a greater impact, I think that's something that needs some proof. And I just didn't see much proof there, just an explanation that says, well, people do social comparison. I'm going, well, how's that different than anything that's ever existed? There needs to be, I think, a little bit more information on that point to make that more compelling. I think there's a good argument to be made about potential problems with the spreading of false information online. And if you're going at this again, I think that might be the best, the issues for which you could make an argument on to say that there are potential, real problems concerned with the way news is disseminated on social media that is creating all sorts of distortions and difficulties for us. And I think maybe that's where there's a richer vein to go into for arguments. The other stuff, I'm not saying that's not true and that there was no worth in talking about it, but it seems to me like that's where most of the controversy is on this particular subject, and that would have been maybe, like I said, a useful way to go there. I thought you did a very nice job presenting all of your sources in the presentation, and the summary helps quite a bit. Sometimes when you don't have the preview at the beginning, or maybe the structure is a little bit problematic in the body of the speech, a summary like you had here kind of helps rescue that and helps put everything into context and say, okay, that's why I'm listening to it. I see how it all fits together, and I think it helped you a little bit there. All right, thank you.